I spent 16 additional hours in interviews. I met the board, I met the team, I met everyone to get all the answers because I think as a job seeker, you have to be really selective because if you're going to work somewhere, you need to go all in. That's Jared Olsen from Job Nimbus, and that one statement just flipped the script on everything you think you know about job interviews. I'm Ryan Kohler, and this is the Future of Work with AI, where we explore how work is evolving. And today, we're diving into why most people are completely backwards about building careers. Jared didn't just stumble into his role as head of people experience at a $60 million company, he engineered it. And the methodology he used? It's going to challenge every assumption you have about company culture, career moves, and what it really takes to land your dream job. We're about to unpack the hero's journey framework that Job Nimbus uses to build culture, where conference rooms are themed after heroes, employees are called J-Force, and they literally help people find jobs at other companies when it's time to level up. This isn't your typical corporate theater. But here's where it gets wild. Jared's going to reveal the questions that 99% of job seekers never ask but should. Things like, what's your annual recurring revenue? What's your customer acquisition cost? Who's your ideal customer profile? These aren't just nice-to-know metrics. They'll tell you more about your future job security than any Glassdoor review ever could. Plus, we're diving into the networking strategies that actually work. Spoiler alert, showing up to $25 HRM luncheons will get you more job opportunities than posting your resume on Indeed, and we'll explore why understanding company growth stages is the secret to picking roles where you'll thrive instead of just survive. This conversation is part career strategy, part culture masterclass, and part wake-up call for anyone who's tired of treating job searches like throwing darts in the dark. Ready to flip the script on how you think about work? Let's dive in. Awesome. So today I got Jared Olsen with me on the podcast from Job Nimbus. Used to be from Motivosity, like long line of, we'll call like culture superstars from organizations. Like you tend to leave a path or a wake behind you of like, we nailed the culture and we communicate it really well from an organization standpoint.
Well, that's kind of you, but I also think I'm selective of where to go. So I know there's a good foundation wherever I start, and then I always try to leave it better than the way that I found it. And it's great having connections with you, Ryan, and seeing the same thing that you've done. I mean, you've done this through at Refer and Applicant Pro, and it's great to be able to connect with somebody who sees similar light as well.
So I love that from the very first part. Maybe that's where we started Job Nimbus. Like, why did you choose to go there? Because clearly,
Yeah.
like you could go to probably like 80% of all companies in Utah right now would probably love to pick up a Jared and plug you into their kind of culture and work experience and that type of piece. So
Yeah.
like, why did you pick there? Because clearly picking a team, an executive team that gets it makes your job like 90% easier.
Yeah. So my kind of story with Job Nimbus is I set up an initial conversation to speak with our growth equity firm. And the advantage of interviewing while you're gainfully employed, like I loved what I was doing at Motivosity. It was such a great place to be. I love the product. I could never get sick of talking about it. But I think that I got a text message from the growth equity firm on a Thursday, and it was just like a bad Thursday, like one of those days where you're just not feeling it as much. And I was like, sure, I'll have a conversation. And in that initial phone screen that I had nothing to lose because I was happy where I was. So I was just really direct with what I am and with what I'm not. And I told him like I hate process and payroll. I'm kind of a compliance nightmare. Benefits is not my specialty. I just love culture and employee experience. And here's what I think I could do to help Job Nimbus. And they said, you've got to talk to our CEO. So I had an hour-long interview scheduled with our CEO, Ben Hodson, came in to meet with him in person. And that 1 hour conversation turned into a 3 hour discussion. But the time flew by. And what we did in that initial interview is we talked about our culture that we wanted to build. And Ben is a very diverse guy. He is the self-proclaimed world's foremost expert of movies made in the year 1984. It's the pinnacle of film. He can tell you any fact you want to know about movies made that year. He has written a comic book. He's been on Fan X panels. He made a short film and won a film festival. He's musically talented. Put anything in his hands and he can like play it beautifully. And one of the common themes amongst all of that is the concept of the hero's journey. And so we started to talk about the hero's journey and how there's an initial initiation phase where there's this call to adventure, and then you go on the journey itself, which is the majority of where the hero spends their time, and then you return this resurrected, better version of yourself because of the journey that you've gone on. So in that 3 hours, we kind of talked about that, how we'd actually bring it practically to life at Job Nimbus, and I just loved the discussion. Well, at the end of it, Ben said, well, you're my guy. The job is yours if you want it. And I had taken the interview because I thought this is probably the first of, 100 interviews I'll go through to find the right thing. And I was so surprised how much I loved Ben. I loved the hero's journey. And what I describe is that Job Nimbus is a sandbox. It's the ability to experiment, try new things. And I remember bringing up like some crazy ideas to Ben in that initial interview, and he just poured gasoline on the fire. He's like, well, what if you went even bigger and did this? And that's something that like really fills me, is encouraging that creativity to become bigger and better and think even more outside the box. And so at the end of the interview, when he said the job is yours, I said, that's great. I need time. And he's like, how much time? And I was like, a lot. So we spent 16 additional hours in interviews. I met the board, I met the team, did all hands. I met like everyone to get all the answers, because I think as a job seeker, you have to be really selective, because if you're going to work somewhere, you need to go all in. And I wanted to make sure I could go all in and have no regrets of leaving a job that I loved at that time. And so that's what made me make the decision to do the jump to come over to Job Nimbus.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's, I mean, clearly, like somebody looks at you and goes, yeah, well, Jared has, all these opportunities. Somebody's calling them up and et cetera, et cetera. And may look at that in some sort of way of like, well, I don't have that because I don't have the right education, or I don't have that because I wasn't working at the right company. And
Yeah.
clearly, your background from a experience standpoint gives you a foundation to stand on. But the reason people talk to you is because you're very active networking and publishing and that type of stuff. If I'm in Utah looking for somebody to help me with culture at my company, I don't just randomly find your resume when you apply for a job. I'm most likely
Yeah.
to ask anybody and they'll say, oh, Jared talks about this all the time. And
Yeah,
that
and
costs
you
$0,
yeah,
right?
you have to be strategic about like what you want your brand to be. Tim Sackett, who's one of the biggest names in the HR space nationally, once told me the secret to making a brand is you post every day, Monday through Friday, for the next 10 years. And after
Right.
10 years, you'll have a brand. And so, like, I ship something on LinkedIn every day. Some of it I think is going to be trash and it performs so well. Some things I'm like, this is going to be brilliant, and it does terribly, but I'm just consistent. And I've been really thoughtful about like putting positivity into the world about what creates a great culture, because I want to bring awareness to the companies that I work at, but I also want to help change the profession of human resources. It was originally called administration and then personnel and then human resources. There's kind of this people ops trend that's happening right now. I call it people experience because I want to care about the experience. My people come in every single day to the J Force. What are they saying? What's their experience and their family's experience? And I think the future key buzzword that's going to happen in the world of HR is a coaching culture, creating this culture where you're helping people become the very best version of themselves. And that includes helping them understand what do they want their brand to be and how do they want to advocate for changing the chosen career that they have made as well. And so you have to be strategic about it. You can't just like luck into it. But once you put it out into the universe and you're consistent with it, it helps create that. So I'm very fortunate that a lot of people know who I am and know who Job Nimbus is because of the positive things that we're doing. And I also believe that you shouldn't do the best practices of everybody else. I actually was thinking a lot about this recently. And if you do the best practice of other companies and what your managers tell you, I think the result that you'll get is mediocrity. You'll be like everyone else. And like, I want to create a future of our profession that is not mediocre, but is exceptional. And probably doesn't even exist today. And I don't exactly know what the future of it looks like as well, but I know that if we challenge each other and push forward, we'll create something exceptional.
Yeah, and I think that right there is, I mean, from a job seeker standpoint, from an HR standpoint, if you're trying to build a culture, you want to work somewhere, it very much is like, are we, trying to keep up with everybody else? And by default, like I like your use of the word experience, and I think for the most part, both of us probably approach these the same way of like, hey, if we treat our employees like they're customers, then we can borrow customer
Yeah,
experience and employee experience. And if we treat job seekers like they're prospects, hey, like we can start to think about what the buying journey is like in buying into a job. And you end up, I think it's interesting. We always end up back at the hero's journey concept because
yeah,
you're
totally.
like, who's the hero? And if you get like, you could say that every story being told by corporate America is following a hero's journey. It might just be a really boring story. And more than likely, the mistake is the wrong person's the hero. So
Yeah,
if the company is the hero, if the CEO is the hero, if the manager's the hero, like that changes the dynamic of the employee experience because that
yeah.
means the employee is a supporting character in that not it does may not make space for them to have their own story going on where they're the hero of it, right?
Yeah, and something I've been studying quite a bit recently about how each person is the hero in their own story. I don't know if you've done any research with like human design or gene
Mm-hmm.
keys,
Right.
but I love that type of stuff, and because it gets very specific into like you have always been a certain way, and at work and in life, our role as leaders or as spouses or parents or whatever that is, or even just friends, is to help you achieve your full potential. And your full potential, Ryan, is different than my potential, which is different from somebody else's. And part of the hero's journey includes the meeting of the mentor. So in recruiting, when you come in and meet the recruiter or the hiring manager, their job is to be your mentor. And if they become the hero in your story, then there's something probably wrong because the mentor, like Yoda, is making Luke Skywalker the best version of Luke Skywalker. And that's true for every mentor that exists out there. Like Ted Lasso is the same way with everybody that he helps.
Right.
And so understanding your role, who you are innately, and having a lot of self-reflection helps you become the best version of you.
Right. And I think like if somebody's listening to this on the executive side, then they'll be like, hey, we can't possibly afford to make all these employees a hero in their journey. And if you're thinking about from the job seeker side and you're like, well, that seems selfish that I demand it, it's like a multi-dimensional situation going on where everybody's got their story going on and you're looking for enough alignment that it keeps us going. I think from a why work at Job Nimbus, I like the fact that you get somebody over talent experience, employee experience, whatever you're putting it as, that thoughtfully went through that much work.
Yeah.
Like you went through
Well,
a ton of work, right?
yeah, and well, where I think I would challenge those executives saying this is too much to invest in helping people in their own hero's journey. Um, Companies need to be more non-apologetic in the interview process. Here's who we are and who's here we're not. Like, we may not be the company where you're going to double your income, get to a VP title, but we are a company that surrounds ourselves with A players. We're like Google is, we're going to hire the smartest possible people and we're going to pay accordingly. Other people might not be allowed to do that. So in the interview process, as leaders and executive team, you have to be able to clearly say, here's what we can provide to you. Because then the individual, the candidate, can come in and say, does this align with my hero's journey? Does it make sense for where I want to go next? And if it does, then it comes down to leadership development and providing that coaching culture to help them achieve their next potential. But we're very honest at Job Nimbus. Like if we hire someone in technical support, this is a 16-month job. Like after 16 months, you're going to be ready for that next step. You're going to be like, okay, I've had enough calls with customers that are upset with me. I want to do the next thing. And we have that career path, which makes a lot of sense, but we care more about the person that works for us than we do about the position. And so we actually have members of the J Force. We call our employees J Force to reinforce the hero's journey. But when a member of the J Force comes to us and says, "Hey, I'm ready for that next step," we may not have it internally, but we will help them find it externally. So the first time that this actually happened was with a member of the J Force. Her name was Chelsea, and she came and she said, "Hey," she worked in tech support. She got a project management certificate, and she wanted to become a project manager. We didn't have any openings for project manager. We don't even have anybody that does project management. And we did 10 introductions to external companies, got her several interviews, and the job that she landed was one of those introductions that we made. Now, why did we do it? One, we did it because we cared about Chelsea and we wanted her to be successful. We also did it because it helped us with our succession plan. Like if we have people proactively coming to us saying, "I think I'm going to start looking for my next job," it helps us start recruiting for a replacement so we're prepared. We also did it for the next employer that hired Chelsea because we wanted to go to them and say, "Chelsea's amazing. Here's all the information you probably want to know about a candidate you're going to hire. We'll just give it to you." I think we so often talk about the talent shortage, which is happening in America. I think we have an unwillingness to share. There are great people who stick around for a year and a half, 3 years, whatever that time frame is. They're A players that just need a change of scenery. Why don't we help those people when they need that change find an amazing next job? It's a win for them because they leave promoters of the company. It's a win for the new company because they get the insight. And it's a win for us because we get them to leave happy and we know what our succession plan looks like. So help them in that journey and don't be afraid of it, but embrace it.
I think that takes like a handful of things. If we go back to the very beginning, like Jared was looking for a CEO and a founding team that like had a big enough vision of a map for the journey that there was a lot of space to like freestyle
Yeah.
in, right? If you had a financial controller as the CEO and this was all about like private equity funded financing and growth and profitability, you think about it like this map that it's like, no, 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 we have this very, very slim map and your ability to work outside the lines, well, you're going to get outside the lines really fast. Anything creative is going to
Yeah.
cross a boundary of the map. So you look at like your CEO and your founding team, the vision, you're like, okay, this guy's got a big enough vision that there's a lot of room to be creative in here, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
think number two is like you have to have an insane amount of confidence in your culture and your organization to do two things you talked about. Number one, of going, hey, we'll tell you both what we are and what we aren't. It's
Yep.
actually like extremely liberating once you get confident in doing that to be able to say, look, I don't think you're a fit for you. You want this very corporate ladder climbing route, and it's not us.
Hmm.
Like we have this, we don't have those. I remember in the early days of Applicant Pro, it was like, I don't have benefits. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Don't got
Right.
benefits. Like for a long time, it was like, I don't have a 401k. I'm sorry, we are not that.
Yep.
People come here because they don't care about 401k matching if you can double your pay within 3 years. Like that
Hmm.
4% is nothing. That's the wrong mindset to fit here. And there are
Yeah.
plenty of places that do that. It's just not us. From a talent shortage, you brought it up. Like, do you feel like based off of the jobs you recruit for, is there a talent shortage?
No. At least not in Utah. I mean, we primarily are hiring in Utah. We have an office in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and there's great talent both places. And another thing that I think sets us apart, which a lot of people say there's a shortage of, we're primarily in office. And so when we get on the phone with someone to do a phone screen, we're telling them like, this isn't an office job.
Right.
We're Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. But we view proximity as a superpower. Like the advantage of being at home and being remote is you can be a lot more productive. But the advantage of being close to other people is the collaboration, the innovation, the connectedness, the culture. And we think that there's just more pros with that. And so when we'll talk to people out of the gate, hey, very transparently, we are in an office culture. And
Right.
here's why we think it's a superpower and a difference. And there's some people who are like, yeah, I don't want that. And we're like, cool, good for you. Like this isn't the right hero's journey for you. But we've been able to recruit talent really well.
Yeah, and I think that is like if you're a job seeker right now, think about the company first, not the job. So if you've got
Yeah.
this like flatlined company. There's no growth. It's not really driving revenue, or it's just like a couple percent of growth per year. Like efficiency is what they're after.
Yep.
Can you be more productive so we can somehow, make a little bit better profit margin? If you're working at a tech company that's growing at a like multiple, an exponential growth curve, then you can't be more productive because we're changing every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so the collaboration is required to innovate how we're doing things, not just simply to optimize it. And I think like that's not for everybody, 100%. It's also why you don't want somebody who's like afraid that you just told them that their support job's only going to last a year and a half.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want is somebody who's satisfied sitting in support and not,
Yeah.
you just can't afford it.
And we also don't want somebody who comes in that says like, I'm going to climb the ladder fast. Like I'm going to be out of support in like 3 months. And it's like,
Right.
whoa, that's not realistic at all. Like you're going to be there for a year and a half. That's how you get trained and you learn the product and everything. And being in office and the hero's journey, all of our conference rooms are actually themed after heroes. Like we have a Hogwarts that looks like Hogwarts. There's hanging candles from the ceiling and the walls got pictures of Dumbledore and Sirius Black and everything.
Right.
And we have some candidates that come in and see that, and their response is this high school? Like, this is a joke. And we have other people that come there like, this is magical and I love it. And that's so helpful for us because we know who our people are.
Right.
Like, we know the people who come in that love it are like, you get the concept of the hero's journey, you're in the right place. And
Yeah,
so
I think
be authentic.
yeah, be authentic. I think somebody brought up on one of my previous podcasts, what they have a metric for it. It's like the do say ratio. And
Uh,
you have a lot of companies that put on, we'll call it like cultural theater. They're like, we got culture and core value theater. We've branded all these rooms and we've like put up our culture on the wall and it's on our t-shirts and stuff. But when it comes to action, like you suddenly find out it's just theater. You're
yeah.
like, you're just projecting this stuff because you don't actually do what it takes
Hmm.
or to facilitate that, right? And
Yeah.
so it's not just the, hey, is this cheesy? Or is this like just like you're trying to do it for show? It's all right, does the substance back this up?
Yep.
Because I think like talk to employees who left there and you'll find like, oh man, like it's a great, like we would hear that on Apple Pro. We would get tons of ex-employee referrals. Like if you
Hmm.
really want to know the measurement of you're a great place to work, ex-employee referrals are it.
I love that.
Because they're saying, hey, I'm at company A now, but when I was at Applicant Pro, here's how it helped me during that part of my journey.
Yeah.
So if you are on a similar journey, that would be a great fit for you. Not where I work today, but
Hmm.
where I worked before. And great cultures leave that type of evidence,
Yeah.
but you won't get it if you're scarcity minded when people leave. Oh, it's an attack on our company because you left us. Oh, you harmed us and put us in a tight spot because
Yeah.
you did what was in your best interest. Like that's mostly a lack of planning on the company's part,
Yep.
right?
So
You're
I'll give you a real example of how we put something into practice at Job Nimbus. We've talked a little bit about the coaching culture future. So one of the executive coaches that we've several of our executive team has worked with, his name is Dr. David Morelli. He's based out of Tampa Bay, Florida. And his whole dissertation was to understand what happens in what he refers to as the cloud of confidentiality. A manager and employee go into a room, have a one-on-one, they walk in heavy, they leave excited, and he's like, "What happens in there?" And Google did this 10-year research project called Project Oxygen, and it found that the number one skill a manager can have is the ability to coach. And so he created this framework, which has 7 different coaching styles, which spells respect is the acronym. So there's a rallier, educator, and so like it kind of goes through these 7 different styles. But the idea is you use a context in the moment to determine which coaching style should be given. Do you need to be a confidant where you say, "How are you feeling?" Or do you need a provocateur where you poke a hole in their logic? And then you see the response, and then you circle back and you do it again. So we actually rolled this framework out to the entire company. We taught everyone how to be a respect coach. The result is that our EMPS improved 180% in 90 days.
wow.
And all of the testimonials that we received were people saying, "I'm a better parent. I'm a better roommate. I'm a better child because I now know how to converse with everyone in my life." Now, does that translate to them having good conversations with customers? Yes, which helps reduce churn and improves retention. Does it help salespeople connect better on it with a prospect? Yes, but we're more interested in making them great people because if they're great people, we know that our customers and that our key SaaS metrics will also reflect that as well.
Right. That's amazing. Yeah, I think that like at the end of the day, if you're not improving your team, and this is like self-awareness and social awareness, right? The two little awarenesses that make it so that it's not just about you. You're not stomping on somebody with like an, oh, I didn't know, or
Hmm.
you're not pulling from them their situation. Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that really does level up the ability of your teams to work together even.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to create a collaborative, and you guys are growing it, I'm guessing some decent exponential metric, right?
Yes, we're going real fast.
Yeah. So you're doubling your head count every 3 to 5 years, something like that.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
you can't keep the wheels on that train if you aren't building this like foundational concept, such as your respect mentoring, such as the
Yeah.
way we approach conversations or
Well,
problems.
you think how often employees are upset with their managers and the manager has no idea anything exists. And it's because the employees are afraid to coach up.
Right.
Or they're sitting down and there's like groupthink happening and they're like just peers talking to peers and they're like, yeah, that sucks. But when they start seeing themselves as the coach, they get in the driver's seat and they say, let me help you solve this issue, or let me help explore that with you in more detail to help the coachee respond. Like the myth is that coaching is not between a superior and a subordinate. This conversation right now is a coaching discussion that we're having. That's what
Right.
this podcast is.
Right.
Every discussion we have is a coaching moment.
Right. So, how much do you think the providing a common framework opens up those conversations? Meaning that you didn't just go train your managers on it for them to use against their or with their employees. You trained everybody on it. Therefore, when I'm sitting in a conversation with my manager and they start down a certain path, I could step back and be like, oh, I see what you're doing here. Because I
Yeah.
said, hey,
Yeah.
you're headed in here. And it almost gives this like, I can step back and say, hang on, let's step back from this conversation. You're using this tactic and I'm using this tactic, and the framework says that we should be doing X right here. It can't help but liberate the employee to coach up, that I think would be hard without that framework, right?
Yeah, and it goes back to once again being non-apologetic. Like I don't see Google or Apple ever doing this because they can't, right? Job Nimbus can at our current size. Now, can we provide Google and Apple wages? No, but we can help you level up in your hero's journey by making you great coaches, by providing you great experiences that will help you find your next job. Can we promise your next job and promotion will be here? No. But can we promise you'll be able to be scrappy and have a sandbox to play in and innovate, yet we also have enough foundation and processes to like give you some guardrails? Yes.
Right.
Like we're not in that startup phase anymore, but we're also not in that bureaucratic phase where everything is policy and red tape. And so, why is that cool? Because I love that space. Like I feel like the 25 million to 200 million dollar space is the sweet spot. You got budget to try things. You have enough foundation that you don't have to start everything from scratch, but you have the ability to maneuver and innovate and shift in that phase. But some people don't want that. Some people want to work at Adobe for a multi-billion dollar company and just say, here's the widgets you're producing over and over. And they like the name that they work for Adobe. Some people want to start for or work for a startup. And they want to wear 10 different hats. And so, once again, don't be apologetic. Like, just here's who we are, and this is what we can provide you.
Well, I think at the basis of what you just talked about is probably something that majority of employers are not explaining to educate job seekers and employees on, like, look, so there is a natural evolution and growth of a company, and it has these stages,
Yeah.
and each of these stages there are core things that will be priorities and core things that will not be priorities,
Yep.
and you could pretty much like, set your watch on it. We
Yeah.
actually set watches because we're old, we're like young now, and we have tech that doesn't do it. You can literally like predict, hey, I know we're crossing this stage sometime in the next 6 months. We're going to have to stop acting like this and start acting like that. And
Yeah.
without that honesty, then your employees are like, well, I don't understand why there's so much red tape here now. And there wasn't this much red tape before. It seems like management is deciding to do this instead of saying, no, no, this is just the natural progression. And
Hmm.
if the team or the company you work for isn't going to do it, as a job seeker, you owe it to yourself to
Yeah.
understand and study that progression so you can look at it and say, all right, I know I want to work for a company that is in this tier of
Yep.
its growth because, like, exactly, Jared is sitting here going, I want a great team, but I need enough momentum to really make this happen. So, you might look at and say 25 to 200 million, that's your sweet spot. Whereas you talk to me and I'm like, oh man, that's crossing the border into
Yeah.
too much restriction. I kind of like being in this like $500,000 to $1 million to 10 million phase. There's
Yeah.
still so much that hasn't been written.
Yep.
I can go, I don't have to erase something and adjust it, which might cause somebody to be offended by me erasing it. Hey, it just doesn't exist. So I can go find an area of the sandbox that hasn't even been looked at and
Yep.
go build my own sandcastle on my own. And both of us are right in picking that company because both of us or each of us has our own character
It's
and how we want to
it's
run.
our own
Yeah.
it's our own hero's journey, right?
Yeah.
Going back to that analogy. And I hope a job seekers listening right now are picking on this key thing. When you apply for a job, figure out how much revenue they're generating. That is going to tell you so much about the company. Uh, and if you want to work for Qualtrics or Adobe or one of these big companies, know what you're signing up for. Like Ryan's talking about, like there's going to be red tape. It's going to be hard to make change. Largest corporation I worked for was J.C. Penney. I did human resources for them. And I remember I felt like we were going at a snail's pace. It was painfully slow. And everyone else in the org was like, Jared, how are you going so fast? You are
Mhm.
flying. And I was like, this is not fast.
Right.
So you compare a J.C. Penney with like that $500,000 to $1 million thing, it is polar opposites. The way you feel, the experiences you have, everything about your job is different. So you as a candidate need to figure out where do you thrive the best.
Right. And I would, if you take that to the second stage of saying, understand how big the revenue is at the company you're applying for, go one step further and say, well, who are the core customers of this company? How big are
Yeah.
they? Because that's where you're going to see, like a giant company that helps small businesses has by default like a cultural mismatch that they're going to have to figure out how to buffer.
Yep.
Or a small company that helps giant organizations, and so the more that you help people like you, right? You help companies around your same size, the less adjustment you have to make. And so like for you guys, you're like, hey, we got, 300 employees right now, and we're helping maybe some of these, not a single person organization. That's probably too small for Job Nimbus,
Yep.
right? You're looking for a size and a trajectory. So if
Yep.
you look at your current company, ask those two questions. What's the size? Like how much revenue, employees, whatever. What's the trajectory? What is our growth rate? And then look at the same customers and ask yourself the same thing. If you're going to be interfacing with customers, like if you are, hey, I'm working at a company with a high growth rate and I love it because I am constantly growing, but I'm working with clients that are in decline and they're
Hmm.
not really growing, like you're going to have to buffer that as you engage with them. But those two things will tell you more about what your work experience will be like than probably anything else, or at
So
least
I'll I'll
they should
I'll
be.
I'll I'll absolutely echo that. And for job seekers, I'll maybe rephrase it in how I would ask these questions in an interview. Because I do a lot of hiring, right? And
Right.
people don't ask me these questions, and I'd love it if they do. One, what's your annual recurring revenue, if it's recurring, or what's your annual revenue? The second one is what's your ideal customer profile or ICP? And once you know what the ideal customer profile is, to what Ryan's been talking about, like if you're a small startup and you're trying to sell to Nike and you land that deal and they downsell or they churn, you don't have a job. Like the company is toast. So who's your ideal customer profile? And you think, okay, your revenue is $500,000. Your ideal customer profile is Nike, and your ACV, average customer value, is $5 million or whatever. You lose that, what's going to happen to churn and to retention? Now you're starting to think more strategically about the business and what it can provide you.
Right. And that will impact you even if you're the HR person. It's going to
Oh
impact you
yeah.
even if you're the accountant, the HR person, the engineer, any of those things of like looking at that and saying like, because not only will Nike potentially cancel and harm you, it'll also take you a year to close the next deal.
Oh yeah. Your sell
The
cycle.
sales cycle's way, way long. And imagine if Nike doesn't cancel, they just put constant, um, outrageous requests on your
Hmm.
product team and your support team and all those kind of things. Like there's three potential downsides of targeting enterprise if you're a startup.
Yeah.
Like you might just get bled to death. Like
Yep.
all
And
day.
that reminds me of another good question is what's your CAC, your cost of acquiring a customer? How much does it cost to get you in the funnel? Because if you're working for a large company and your CAC is $100, whoa, you're selling to some small people.
Right.
And so that tells you you can have lots of churn, but it also tells you that you probably have a shorter sales cycle. And so you can answer a lot of these questions. I think as job seekers, we go and we're like, we look at Glassdoor and we say, when was the last time you did like a layoff? A much smarter way to figure out the future is ask these type of questions, because then you can put the puzzle pieces together to tell you how good is the business at making smart decisions, and what could put us into a place that could do a layoff at some point, and how
Right.
secure is your job.
Yeah, you'd be much safer asking and probably much better asking like what's your churn rate?
Yeah.
What percentage of clients are canceling your service? Because it's going to give you an idea of like, oh crap. Like if you're churn, there's software startups out there that have raised $10 million and are hiring like crazy, and their churn's 100% per year, which
Hmm.
basically means they have to literally replace their entire client base every single year. They might offer you an awesome benefits package and a great pay, but you're literally jumping in a hamster wheel.
Yep.
They haven't figured it out. And you might say, well, it's not my job, I'm in accounting. But trust me, like it still is your livelihood for it to be
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
I think probably a great piece here with Jared, who's in HR or in people ops. Like, listen to what he just said. There's probably 5 or 10 vocabulary words in there that you don't understand if you're not in tech. And if you're in tech, but you happen to be in HR, accounting, or support, or some of those areas, you're like, well, I've heard those words, but I really couldn't like teach a class on it. Like, if you want to get in the tech world, you better be able to teach a class on the top 10 metrics and why they matter.
And if you want a job, because I tell you
Right.
what, somebody come like if a tech support person came to me and was asking these questions, I'd be like, hire this person on the spot because they understand how it works and the connection and what the customer journey is like and the real impact that they're making on our customer base.
Yeah, and those same vocabulary words, if you looked at it as, and I think Alex Shaffron had some framework on it of the growth, kind of the growth stages of a company and what they're
Yeah.
working next. Like if you ask those questions, oh, so I read on LinkedIn that you guys have somewhere around $2 million in revenue. I'm guessing right now you're working really hard on the second cup sale. You've
Hmm.
got a base of a platform and now you're trying to figure out how to sell them something else, an add-on or something like that. Said no job seeker ever.
Yeah, what a great way
Right.
to get a job though. Go
Right.
say that and you'll get a job.
Because there's this level of like context that apparently you gathered
Yep.
either by reading, by talking to people, by whatever the case may be, that clearly means something more than, oh, I have a certain degree. Because there's people that come out of that have a great resume coming out of big companies that don't understand other than their one role. So
Hmm.
outside of their area, they couldn't tell you what CAC means, and more importantly, they couldn't tell you like how to figure out why it's happening, or I mean churn or something like that. That there's just a level of tech awareness, and you could take out the word tech and put in your industry. There's a level of restaurant awareness,
Yep.
restaurant business awareness, tech business awareness, hotel business awareness that creates a completely different character for you to show up in an interview when you know
Yeah.
it. And it's fairly nuanced to the job seeker, but it screams to the interviewer.
Yeah, like seasonality. A lot of those businesses have seasonality, right? If you're in restaurants, is it going to be busy around Thanksgiving? Or if it J.C. Penney, right? You think of stores. I helped with supply chain, which means how did you get the product into stores before Black Friday?
Right.
And so that means, oh, I bet we're busiest August to September, which is correct. So thinking through those things before you go to the interview makes you stand out big time.
Oh yeah, if it's a consumer product, like I bet 95% of all restaurant applicants get into an interview and have not read the reviews, potentially not even eaten at the restaurant, but
Hmm.
especially not eaten from the, hey, take off my customer. Oh my gosh, balloons everywhere. Take off my customer hat, put on my what's going on here from my business knowledge hat, and go sit down at that restaurant and watch. Like, how
Yeah.
do they greet customers? Is this Chick-fil-A? Is this not Chick-fil-A? Like,
Yep.
how do they take orders? What do they say afterwards? What does the line look like? Where are things backing up? Open up Yelp, read the reviews. In an hour of sitting at a restaurant, reading their reviews, because you did that one little thing of like, I am now business aware of what's going on here. And maybe you read a book, so you're industry aware. But
Yep.
job seeker wise, that's definitely, I think we probably run into it a little bit more in the tech world. But
Yeah, and in the like white collar tech kind of space more, my favorite secret to this is YouTube. Nobody uses YouTube. Go to YouTube and Google Job Nimbus. Go Google Ben Hodson, CEO Job Nimbus, and you will see like often early versions of the CEO starting the company as a founder, saying, "Here's what we're trying to accomplish. Here's what our mission are." You'll hear from customers. Like a lot of great content exists on YouTube. So do your research before you go interview.
yeah, I mean, and a lot of people use, say, ChatGPT from a, oh, rewrite my resume. Like that's pretty like elementary school level use of ChatGPT, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
take all those YouTube videos, grab the transcript, feed them into ChatGPT and say, all right, if you were consulting with this company, what kind of questions would you be asking them to figure out if they're on the right path for the future? It'll
yeah,
literally give you the questions to ask
yeah.
that you better be able to back up why you want to know. So again, like secondary prompt, like, why would I want to know this? What is
Hmm.
the backstory of this question? What potential answers could they give me? Where should I go research to learn more about it? Like we are effectively entering the I can design my own AI mentor world that is crazy powerful, that just a random support person could feed your website into it,
Yep,
the transcripts from your meetings, and ask it to mentor them and have superpowers,
yep,
right?
yep. I tell you what, job seekers, anybody listening to this right now, you're getting gold. Like this is
Yeah.
great stuff. This is how you get your job. I mean, Job Nimbus is we have high standards. We're one of the best places to work in Utah. We're one of the fastest growing. And if you came and did these things in practice and interview, you'd get hired.
Yeah. And you may have to start at the support level, which honestly, if I have my choice, like I start most of my employees in the support level. Like
Yeah.
it is not a downgrade. Just if you show up, if you want to get into tech at all, go find a tech support job and support their customers and show up
Hmm.
every day and say, do I understand the customer's journey? Do I understand what their pain was, what the problems are, how it's impacting them, how this product is solving it? Like, what can I do to increase the chances that this customer is successful? And
Yeah.
inside of that journey is literally like all the secrets to the growth of the company.
Hmm.
If you'll just sit in there and not look at the transaction you're running today, but zoom out and be like, cool, I can see what these guys are trying to build here. This is amazing. And I can
Yeah.
understand, I can hear the voice. Jared and I'm guarantee met each other at a trade show, right? Guarantee that's at least some of the early days of running into each other at trade shows.
Hmm.
I was there, which a job seeker could do. Like, you want to learn about Job Nimbus? Go figure out what trade show they're going to, pay the entrance fee to get in the trade show, look at the people walking past the booth, listen to the conversations their people are having. You will know more about that company and the voice of the customer than, again, any job seeker. And like all three of these things might cost you like a couple $100 and 10 hours of time.
Yeah. I another tip I'll add to that. I believe you can have the worst resume on the planet, but if you have three different people internally go to the hiring manager and say, "Hey, I just talked to Ryan and like you got to interview this guy." And three people tell me that. I pull up your resume, Ryan, it's trash. I'm still going to interview you. So like you got to create those advocates internally. So once you apply, my first thing I do is I go straight to LinkedIn. I connect with a bunch of people. I make friendships, and then I say, would you be willing to put in a good word for me? But my introductions are like, tell me what are the biggest challenges that you're dealing with? And like a lot of stuff we've discussed. I see you're at this revenue and you're headed there. Are these some of the challenges? How can I provide value to those things? You win them over so they then will advocate for you. But go to these trade shows like Ryan's talking about and listen to those conversations and then go make those people your friends so that they want to put in a good word for you as well.
Right. Jared, we'll end on this. Jared brought up something important in the very beginning that he said, we're on site because of proximity, right? We need proximity to each other. What we just talked about on the job seeker side, same exact rule applies. Like if you want to put a company, get proximity to the people who work there. Proximity. So like what I said with a restaurant, go inside, go eat there, read their reviews. You're creating proximity. If you show up enough times there and interact with enough people, you'll end up with a name of somebody that you can use a referral, or go to the trade shows they attend, or show up at SHRM. Dude, for like 25 bucks, you can eat lunch once a month with 300 HR people in your local area for like literally 25 bucks. Get proximity to all these people. Walk in, don't tell them you're looking for a job. Ask them, what do you look for in a great hire? Like, ask them the same thing I'm asking you. Why do people like working for you guys? What do you look for in a great hire? Like, how do you guys approach like helping your fill in the blank job people? Like, who are you looking for right now?
What are your top challenges that you're dealing with? What keeps you up late at night? Because you go into that interview and you can specifically talk to those things. You're going in and saying, I know your top issues. I've already done the research, and here's how I'm the solution.
But I bet Jared and I have probably been to hundreds of SHRM events.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Hundreds of these $25 luncheons. I know I can count on one hand the number of job seekers who've showed up and networked there.
Oh, yeah. Yep. No. Nobody shows up. It's a gold mine, though. It's a great place to go get information and to find a job.
Yeah. Get on your heels, hang out there and just ask questions, eat lunch, listen to what they're talking about. But yeah, it always surprises me.
My dad gave me some great advice as a kid. He said, as soon as you know what, or you think you know what you want to do for your profession, go and volunteer in that industry. And so find your own SHRM, whatever that is, and where the people are, show up, go to whoever the volunteer chapter president is, shake their hand and say, how can I help? I want to help the cause. I want to help the profession advance. And you will get exposure to those people who can then help hire you one day.
Yeah, because most of those associations, whether it's SHRM or the Society of Accountants or whatever, they're generally nonprofits. They're generally, while they may have a paid management team of some type, they're mostly volunteer specific. So you're like, give me a t-shirt. I want to set up chairs. Like, I want to hand out flyers at this thing. I want to, 100% you nailed that one, because they love volunteers.
Yep.
And think about who you're volunteering around. You're going to be proximity to other volunteers, but more importantly, you just got 2 days of being the gopher for somebody who is most likely one of the best connected. It's a Jared, it's a Steve Smith, right? You're volunteering for somebody who can literally connect you with 1,000 jobs. That you're just sitting there going, hey, how can I make this event easier for you? What can I do? 100%. Like, so many of those, but those are not hosting volunteer opportunities. Those are like, get proximity, raise your hand. Hey, I want to help out. I just want to get access and proximity to these people. I want to learn what it's all about. Said again, like almost no job seeker ever.
Yep.
Right. So
it's true.
So this has been gold today. Thank you, Jared, so much. As always, like, Job Nimbus, phenomenal place to work. Like, you can go and read the job ads and stuff. What you should be thinking about though is, you know, did their leader who came over to drive culture, did they methodically really think through exactly what this move is and what they want to create and how quirky and how much space they had to navigate? Or was it just another job to them?
Yeah.
Because I can tell you that will tell you more about what it's going to be like to work there for you.
Yeah. So, well, Brian, thanks for the chat. Always a good time hanging out with you.
For sure. We'll talk to you later.
Wow. Jared just delivered a masterclass in strategic career building that's going to change how you think about job searches forever. Here are the 3 biggest takeaways. First, company revenue stage tells you everything about your future work experience, from startup chaos to corporate bureaucracy. Know what you're signing up for. Second, proximity is power. Whether it's working in person for collaboration or networking at industry events, get close to the people and problems you want to solve. And third, be the hero of your own story. But remember that the best companies help you level up even if it means you eventually leave. Jared Olsen is building something special at Job Nimbus, a culture where employees aren't just workers, they're J-Force members on their own hero's journey. What hit me hardest was Jared's point about the do-say ratio. So many companies have cultural theater, branded conference rooms, and core values on the wall. But when it comes to action, it's just performance. Job Nimbus actually helps employees find external opportunities when it's time for their next chapter. That's confidence in your culture. This conversation reminded me why I'm passionate about the human side of work transformation. Yes, AI is changing everything, but the fundamentals of building trust, creating authentic culture, and helping people grow, those are timeless. And they're more critical than ever as we navigate rapid change. Thanks for listening, and remember, the future of work isn't just about the technology we use. It's about being intentional with the journey we choose and the culture we help create.